Alright, so I want to talk about how to properly gear your units in really just the end game and reaching maybe slightly pay to win territory. I think a lot of you guys over time, especially now that they're doing a lot more boost events. So what I mean by that is for the past 2 weekends, they have been actually having hot times, which it's so sad that they don't really talk about it on their socials. I just found about this now because I haven't really been playing on this global account too much. Obviously, we're three people taking care of this. During the weekends, the past 2 weekends, they've had 50% off stamina, increased bond, increase yul. Okay, so you would have been able to get basically twice as much gear, and with that, obviously now that they're adding more stuff, and we know for the half anniversary, maybe for the whole time, maybe for the whole like 2 weeks, there's gonna probably be a gear drop increase with the stamina down. So I think it's about time that we talk about like the kind of new best way to build the gear. So obviously we have this way, okay? To properly, well, build gear, usually you want to build with 3 sets, all right? 3 sets is usually the go-to. So you're gonna have 4 rectangles of either, well, attack or defense, well, like either magic attack or defense, right? And then 3 squares to get the 3 2 sets, or in the case for HP pieces, you have 4 horizontal rectangles with 3 of these, which also works out just fine, right? Now, if you really want to like kind of prioritize a lot of stuff and like just really max everything out, this honestly is kind of the, if we're being honest, for like DPSs, to get the maximum amount of offense the best way. Okay, now you have to realize one thing: this is a whale account where we have access to a lot of enchantment stones. All right, that's one big thing. But as you can see, every single piece has a very good role in terms of every one of these are magic, except for one. Okay, so our magic attack is being increased exponentially, obviously this helping too. I've seen a lot of people recently actually get magic attack necklaces for free, so I mean, at least there's that. I'm pretty sure it's a very, very low chance, but congrats to the people who actually managed to get the either LR or UR versions of this as necklaces for attackers, because obviously the magic attack attacker necklace is the best one to get. So I think now it's definitely important to really kind of focus on actually building it like this. Okay, having 6 square pieces while not seeming as crazy actually ends up being better. So in terms of the total like main stats, right, from this you're getting about 7,500, where from this you're getting almost 8,000. Okay, you're getting about 7,800, right? So it's like a small gap, but what helps it is the fact that you have a full extra piece. Okay, so usually you'd have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, now you have 8. So with 8 pieces, you have a bunch more substats. So when you're very late game, once you're starting to be like, I feel like I have a lot of stamina, what do I do with it? That's when you start focusing on a build like this. So usually you're gonna have the speed gear alongside the attack gear. Now, for someone like Spirit Dive, when you're able to get there, this set is going to be the best. Okay, you're going to run speed with this, because when uses his ult, he gets a 10% speed increase. And why this is crazy is because already increases his speed so much, right? His skill 1, when he has Spirit Dive, 10% speed increase. His ult gives him a 20% outright speed increase, so you're going to be able to get this extra 10%. So for it's going to be the speed gear and this gear 2 set, right? Those are the two sets. But for the maximum amount of DPS, you want to build something like this. And especially for who has invincibility, the defense is not as important, right? So that is kind of like the main thing that we're going to discuss. Now, for the substats, right? The main substats that you're really looking for on DPSs are, of course, I'm going to explain basically gear in its entirety. So are, of course, going to be the crit ratio, like the crits, crit rate, crit damage, and then magic attack are like the 3 main ones. Now, a lot of more accuracy builds have been popping up, okay? The reason being is because of the fact that Black Asta is going to slowly leave the meta now. There's not going to be total defense. Total defense is where guaranteed blocks. Accuracy is where you have a higher chance to actually get through the blocks. Let's check it here just to show you. So if we go to mages, we go to is it battle stats, sorry. If we go to stats, we go to accuracy. The target's damage reduction activation rate is reduced based on the stat. Obviously, lowering the damage reduction rate, which is a 30% damage reduction lower, will be good in certain situations when Black Asta kind of leaves the meta. But for right now, you're going to focus mainly on the crits and your usually magic attack stat. Okay, so those are the 3. Now, one thing that you got to realize is you want to build crit rate much higher. The reason being is because when you got units who have 118% crit res, and sometimes they're type advantage, and you got to realize Valkyrie Noelle 2 is gonna get basically in her kit, not count like just the buff she has and her type advantage. The buff is 28% crit res, and then she has a built-in 20% because she's type advantage against the whole game. 48% crit res built in without any other stats. She's probably gonna have built-in stats too, so she's probably gonna start off with that skill 2 buff at like 70% crit rate without any additional stats from gear. So what crit res does is technically, let's say they have 20% crit res. My crit rate is 128 minus 20 essentially. Okay, that's the way I've interpreted it. Please feel free to correct me down below if you have any proof of this. All right, so you want to have very high crit rate because there's going to be very high crit res to actually go through. Okay, that's something very important to actually realize, is that crit rate is way more important than crit damage, and crit damage already starts off usually at 50%. Luck, for example, has 70% because of his dupes, so that's like another reason why it doesn't really matter for him. Same thing with Spirit Dive, who also has high, no, him it was crit rate, my bad, he gets crit rate. So that's another thing. Crit is very important, but then also for defenders, defense is important. Now usually for defenders, going just for defense works out just fine. The main, well, obviously you can't go for square pieces, it doesn't work that way. So for any defender, you obviously keep this type of build. Okay, now remember, for defense accessories, now we're able to reroll substats because of the busted ass charge event. At first I kind of overlooked it, but being able, did we do it today or is it gone? It might be gone. Is it? No, but we already did it. So oh, it ends today, unfortunate. But yeah, being able to get the rare accessory substat changing stones where you're actually able to like lock one piece just from this random ass event that I would argue is pretty easy is very good. Okay, so even accessories now are able to be pushed even further. And remember, especially with all the hot time, and in my personal recommendation, all the gear you should be farming, you better go your ass up to luck and start merging and designing accessories. All right, we want to see a bunch of accessories being made and hope you get lucky. All right, the merge gear function is like okay if you have like dud LR pieces, for example. I would say personally, like if you have HP, like go for it, right? But besides that, like the fact, like you want to keep the squares for these pieces, you want to keep the squares for the most part. But yeah, basically for now, the new best type of sets is this: 2 rectangles, basically building 2 sets with 6 squares to get the maximum amount of actual stats, because you technically have a full extra gear piece with more substats. Now this is something that over time is going to be a lot easier to do. The more if we go here, change substat, the more we get of the red substat changing stones, the better it's going to be. But for a lot of people, you should have a lot of greens. We're going to get world boss a lot, so you're going to be safe in terms of rerolling, and if you get even a bit lucky, you'll be able to do that and get a bunch of extra substats, which is going to play in the long run to be better, because being able to have 4 extra substats in total with this type of build instead of a build like this proves to have a lot of value. Even if you lose 1 set bonus, the only ones you really need are like speed and attack, or for, you know, speed and speed. For the other set I mentioned before, being this piece right here, because it gives 10% speed to, you know, on his ult, which means he's gonna have a 20% speed increase and a 10% speed increase, which is gonna make him fucking busted. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that real quick, kind of give you the basics on stats and all that. But of course, defenders, tanks always want to have high crit res. Any type of support, high crit res, 121% crit res, 100% crit res, 126, 118, right? Just to kind of give you an example. Even him with a shitty ass build with 4 gear pieces, 4 gear pieces has 87% crit res. So thought it would be kind of important to mention that. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. It's very sunny over here, so I hope you guys spend it well, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.